Hello everyone, this is Himanshu Pandey welcoming you all in class 10 economics. It's quite delightful to be in touch again with you all guys. And let me congratulate each and every individual who has successfully passed from class 9. And now we have a new fresh team full of happiness as well as quite enthusiasm is really on high. I understand that this time is actually a little odd for all of us, but things will definitely turn good for us. And this is a time where you feel that now we are craving to join schools because staying at home is no more a kind of joy, maybe for us, but we have to be patient and we need to keep motivating ourselves. Let you engage yourself in different areas, different productive areas, so that you don't feel like to be caged inside the boundaries. So now coming to the syllabus portion of class 10 economics. Here, this year we are given four chapters, and the last chapter, chapter number five, will be for the project purpose only. These chapters are basically upgrading your knowledge from the basic level. You studied some basic issues in class 9, like the story of the village, Palampur. Then you talked about people as resource, then poverty and food security in India. Now we will talk about some broader concepts which we will relate us and which will give you a glimpse of a macroeconomic view. So we begin with the syllabus portion. Chapter number one is development. In this chapter, you will be talking about the personal development of an individual, followed by the national development through different studies and through different indicators. So, and also about the sustainability of development. Once we reach that stage of development, though it would be notable here that India is a developing country, not a developed one. So, in the context of Indian economy, it's quite important to study this. Now, after seeing the core issues and development, we come to chapter number two, that is sectors of the Indian economy. We have already seen different sectors in class 9, the primary, secondary, and the tertiary sector. You are already introduced with these three sectors. We will see now that what is the contribution and the employment level we find in these three sectors, what are the opportunities, which sector is dominating, which sector is uh, doing much in the GDP contribution and the employment generation. We will also be talking about the level of employment and unemployment in our economy, and the various ways which we can opt, or the government has opted to bring more and more employment. Followed by chapter number three, that is money and credit, most lucrative chapter, I would say, as far as money is concerned. In money and credit, you will find evolution of money, how money has evolved, because earlier the current currency in your hand, the notes and the coins which you see, that didn't exist in the ancient stages. So we will see in the detail that how was the money, how the people used to live in a barter exchange or the CC economy, and how did we gradually surpass these stages and we developed ourselves. And today we stand on digital cash. With the money, credit is also given. In the credit chapter, or the concept of credit, we will see about the very important element of credit as far as the production activities are concerned in the rural areas. Because in the urban areas, though it is generally found that the credit facilities are often available to all, but in rural areas, the facilities is just worsened. So, though government is trying its best and cooperative farming and through various financial institutions, uh, people are getting an access to the banking facilities, but still there are some obstacles to get a loan from these financial institutions. And what are those obstacles, and how do we overcome from those obstacles? Would be an interesting concept to see in chapter number three. And then we come to the last chapter, that is globalization and the Indian economy. Here we will have a glimpse of international world, and you will be definitely coming out of the boundaries of your domestic economy. You will find here that what is the mutual interdependence of one country to the rest of the world, because not every country or not every individual, if you even see in your own family, then you will find that even our elderly members or the younger members, nobody is completely capable of doing all the tasks at his own. So we are definitely dependent on the other people around us. So in the similar way, you will find that in India, we were a kind of closed economy before introduction of new economic policy in 1991. Before 1991, our economy was confined with the more involvement of public sector, as a government sector, and we had seen that our interaction was not much with the rest of the world. In history, you must have found it that our channel of trade or direction of trade was limited with the Britain and a couple of countries more. That's why that was a need behind introducing new economic policy in 1991, which we see that LPG was also introduced at the same time, because LPG stands here for L stands for liberalization, P stands for privatization, and G stands for globalization. So definitely we will be talking about the third element of LPG. So this is how we are going to connect ourselves with the international economy. Now it's the time that we come on the discussion on our syllabus. Chapter number one, that is the development. Before jumping to the content given our textbook, though here I expect that you all must have downloaded the ebook from NCERT's website, and make sure that you have a fresh and the new version of NCERT's textbook. There are a couple of questions before us while talking about the development. If I talk about your desires or your dreams, then you will find that we all have some sort of dreams before us. We all have some short term or the long term plans before us to do in the life. You have some short term goals, like majority of you will be willing to score better grades in class 10, as every year you set this goal. That's a permanent goal before us as far as our schooling is concerned, and till you will be engaged in the academics till your college studies, that will be a short-term goal every year you will set. Other than it, what could be our long-term goal? Your goal could be, you will be willing to be a doctor, you will be willing to be a soldier, plumber, electrician, chartered accountant, soldier, etc. We all have plans in our mind and we want to be something in long term. If we ask the same question to your mother or to your father, to your siblings, their answer could be different from you. And you will find that not everyone has a different set of the goals. Everyone, he or she, sets the goal as per his own convenience, as per his own circumstances and abilities he or she has created, or she would be willing to build further. So if you ask your mother that what's her development goal, from our past experiences, we could explore that the students did the activity at home and they wrote about the personal goals of their parents and their neighbors. Here, it will be notable that most of the mothers, they want to just see their family happy and well served behalf of them. Whereas if you raise this question before your father, then he would say that he wants to ensure a good study environment for you, a good career for you, and one day he wants to see you settled after completing your studies. Also, the earning person here, whether it's your mother or father, the earning person would be willing to, keep the supply of income, a good income for the family, because everybody wants better and better income in hand. So the earning person would be willing to earn more and more money to facilitate you all with more and more facilities, more and more comfort. So this is what the development goals we find around us in our own family. You must discuss with your friends, with your elder siblings, and they will tell you some different goals with them, right? So, this chapter will talk about your personal goals, personal development, also about our national development. As you people have set some goals, in the same way, our country also has set some goals. And in order to develop our country, government of India, right from 1951 onwards, we had established agency institution like Planning Commission. Planning Commission in 1951, in 1950, it was established and it started working from 1951. It was established under the chairmanship of our Honorable First Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru ji. And the model was created by PC Malanobis. So, right from 1951, we had set 5 year goals. Every 5 years, what we are going to be, what are we willing to attain in next 5 years? What are those social issues or economic issues which we have to deal, which we have to curb in these next 5 years? So, there were total 12 5 year plans, and the Planning Commission was abolished in 2014 by the Modi government, and they replaced Planning Commission with the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog stands for National Institution for Transformation of India. Now, Niti Aayog serves us in order to make new plans and programs to develop our country. It would be notable here that the 12th five-year plan was from 2012 to 2017, and there were only 12 five-year plans under Planning Commission. So that was a very, is kind of major strategy which the government of India kept before us to develop this country. And time to time, different governments, different ruling parties, they came into existence in into the power, and accordingly they ran our country. Now, the essence of this chapter will be lying in this that how do we sustain this development? What we were at the time of 1947. You will be amazed to find that our life expectancy was just 32 years. That means, and on an average, you could live in India for only 32 years. That was our life expectancy. Our growth rate of per capita income was just around 0.1%. So not a very, kind of a respectable score. And these indicators were actually reflecting towards a very stagnant and a backward economy as we stood at the time of independence. So there were big losses, during the colonial rule, and we were left a kind of destroyed economy. So it was a quite challenging phenomena for our government and for other institutions to take this economy forward through the different economic and fiscal policies. So now it's the time to come to the textbook, and we will see that what is given in context of the development. Uh, idea of development or progress has always been with us. We have aspirations or desires about what we would like to do and how we would like to live. So this is what the general question we can raise before any household, and you will find that every household has set some sort of desires or some sort of short-term and long-term goals, as we discussed earlier. Similarly, we have ideas about what a country should be like, as we discussed that all the countries have set their theories and their plans to develop. What are the essential things that we require? Life, could it be better for all or not? Because you will find that at present, 73% GDP or 73% of our gross domestic product, domestic income, is shared by only the 1% rich people in this country. So you can estimate that what is the population of the country, and just the 1% people carry 73% of the wealth of this country. That's a huge gap between the rich section and the poor section. Further, we see that how should people live together? Because in India, due to our cultural and historical reasons, there was always a social discrimination among the people, and we classified our community into different castes. And as per that, we would see that I would not mention here uh, the name of any particular caste, but definitely it is experienced that in our community we always had a kind of social discrimination based on the religion, based on your caste, or based on the gender. So gender equality, religious equality, social equality, this is what the people crave for, by living in any community. You will never be willing to live or reside in such a community where you are discriminated from other people. So this is what not our development goal. Our development goal would be like, we should enjoy all the rights which others are enjoying. We must be given all those facilities which other people are enjoying of the society. So this is what thinking about the equality. Development involves thinking about these questions and about the ways in which we can work towards achieving these goals. So, this is a complex task, and in this chapter, we shall make a beginning at understanding development. Complex task because the economy is huge. If you talk about the domestic economy also, then we are the fifth largest economy. But it's not a very easy task to channelize the people, in a same line, and it's not possible always to bring all the people in a particular segment. We cannot, though people and the government, different governments are trying to bring more equality among the rich and poor section, but still there are problems like economic fluctuations or production fluctuations, due to which the distribution of income never remains same. And accordingly, when the distribution of income is not even, then that becomes a hurdle to allocate the income equally among all the people. But still we try that at least the lower section of the society must be able to earn their living, or they must be able to fulfill the basic needs of their lives. Further, if we see that you will learn more about these issues to greater depth in higher classes. Of course, if you opt humanities, or if you opt commerce, then you will be seeing the vast theories behind the development. Now, also, you will find answers to many of these questions, not just in economics, but also in the course given in your history and political science. This is because the way we live today is influenced by the past. From past, we learn, we experience, and this is how we frame our development goals. Because if there is no past, there could not be any development goal. You know that what I was, and this is why you want to upgrade, you want to improve yourself from the past stages. So as far as India is concerned, our history is quite glorious, but at the same time, when we were in the hands of a colonial rule, the situation was quite pessimistic, and from that past we have learned a lot of learnings. So those models are still working for us, and we would be setting our goals accordingly. We can't desire, further, we see that we can't desire for change without being aware of this, about the past. Without being aware of the past, we cannot set our goals. In the same way, it is only through a democratic political process that these hopes and possibilities can be achieved in real life. Through the democratic way only, we can achieve these goals. So this is why the government of different countries, they have set up different agencies, different institutions which are working towards the development of this country. Whether you take the defense industry, you take the law and order industry, you take the primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, we all these all sectors have the watchdogs on them in the different areas. These watchdogs, they are the representatives of the government, and they ensure that the development goals framed by the state government to the central government are implemented in the same way and the results are achieved. Further, we see that what development promises and different people, different goals. As we saw earlier, that when we compare our development goals with anyone else, we will find that there's a variation, there's a difference between our development goals and our friends, our kins, our family members, our relatives, or our teachers. So all the people around you, they will have a different development goal. You talk to a beggar, you talk to a shopkeeper, you talk to a banker, you talk to a doctor. So all these individuals will have very different development goals before them. Let us try to imagine. The book says that let us try to imagine what development or progress is likely to mean to different persons listed in table 1.1. There's a table here, and it is worth to discuss this table. That This table here, there are two columns. The caption first says category of persons, and caption second, this directs us towards the development of possible development goals or aspiration of the people listed before it. So in first column, you are seeing category of persons. What is a category of person? First is landless rural laborers. What is the development goal, or what is the possible development goal for any landless rural labor? That labor, he will always crave for a regular availability of the work before him, regular supply of the wages, and he would be willing to find work, especially in the rainy season, because the most of the landless rural laborers, they are engaged in the construction of the manufacturing work, and most of the times the construction works are stopped or restricted during rainy season. So in the off seasons, when the work is not available in their main channel which they are engaged in, they would be willing to find employment in the different areas. That way his that could be the probable development goal. Other than it, he would be willing to ensure the fulfillment of basic needs in his family, because a landless rural laborer hardly earns a meager income to survive. So he would be willing to keep these things at the priority, and followed by, if he is earning income in enough, then definitely he would be setting goals like sending his children to the school. At least primary education or the secondary education can be offered to them. A regular supply of milk or nutritious food to the children. That would also be a possible development goal in case if he is earning beyond the meagre income or the subsistence income. Now, second example is prosperous farmers from Punjab. Punjab and Haryana are the regions where we find that these areas supply a lot of food grains, and food grains are supplied in abundance. Productivity is high, and the farmer section, they are using most of the times the advanced technology, modern farming tools. Though there are consequences also, which we will be discussing in the coming contents. But here, their development goals, these are the prosperous farmers. That means they must be able to spend money behind education, health, and a better standard of living. So their goal could be, as we see here, that assure a high family income through higher support price. Uh, we saw earlier that what is the minimum support price, because the farmers, they plan nowadays the crop production as per the MSP announced by the government. What is MSP? We had already seen in food security in India in class 9. For their crops, and through hardworking and cheap laborers, their goal would be always to minimize the cost, because when you hire the labor from the market, you have to pay them definitely. But they always look for the cheap laborers and hardworking laborers who are available in the market, and they help to reduce the cost especially. And when the cost is lower, the accounting principle is that your profit is higher. Further, they should be able to settle their children at abroad. In Punjab, the favorite destination is Canada and other developed countries as well. These people in Punjab, especially, they always look forward to send their children or settling their children at abroad. They want a better education for their children, better standard of lives, which they may not be getting in their own respective regions. So this is what the development, possible development goals of the landless rural laborers as well as the prosperous farmers from Punjab. Now, in this table, there are more examples given to you, and in the blank columns, you need to fill this table. What could be the possible development goal of farmers who depend only on rain for growing crops? What could be the possible development goal for a rural woman from a land owning family? Further, what could be the possible development goal for an urban unemployed youth, a boy from a rich urban family? So, these are some questions before us, and I expect that you all will be writing their personal goals. Still, if there's any problem, then feel free to get in touch. I would explain here the third one as well. Farmers who depend only on rain for growing crops. This means that there is a lack of irrigation facility before these farmers, and they are entirely dependent on the natural rainfall, which is a source of irrigation for the production of their crops. Now, what could be the possible development goal? The first possible development goal could be to ensure the proper resource of water for the irrigation purpose. Secondly, in case if they are not able to find or they are not able to access it, then their development goal could be that in the off season, as we discussed before, with the landless rural laborers, that they also face this seasonal unemployment. So, this is the kind of situation where farmers who depend only on rainfall they also face seasonal unemployment, and their possible development goal could be to find employment in the other areas when there's no rainfall or when the irrigation facility is not available. So that could be the possible development goal of farmers who depend only on rain for growing crops. I expect you all to write the other possible development goals or aspirations. So now we can conclude this table, and the conclusion says that the different people have different development goals. But here, one more observation is there that at times the development goal for one individual cannot be development goal for the other, or it at times it may become a destruction for the other people. How? Establishment of industries is quite important in order to boost the GDP growth. So government always tries to bring more and more FDI, and government has established special economic zones also to entice, or you can say that to attract our domestic investors and the foreign investors. They come, they do investment in our domestic economy, and they form some physical assets as well. The established industries before us, they bring employment, capital inflow, forex as well. But even after doing so development, it might become a destruction for the people of local areas, because after establishment of industries it will definitely lead to the pollution around, and that's a kind of a negative externality for the society. There are two types of externalities, positive and negative. And due to any economic activity, if you find something positive, then that is positive externality. Due to any economic activity, if you find any negative impact, then that is known as basically negative externality here. Externalities are studied in higher classes in depth. So here I will be keeping it before you in brief. So when industries are established, people get employment, good for them, development for the economy. But the people who face this pollution, so that's a destruction before them. One more notable example here in the textbook is that when the government establish a dam to ensure more electricity supply, or to ensure more drinking water supply, then it covers a lot of area, and the government has to capture land from the local people, mostly in the rural areas. So in that case, when the dam is built, the local people, they have to sacrifice their lands, and they may not be willing to migrate from their natives from their natives to any other area. So that could also be restriction before these people. So in that way, we can conclude here that development goals could vary from one person to other, and one development for one individual or development for one section could not be development for the other section. So we wind up our discussion here with this fact that development goals, they vary, and development goals could be restriction for the other sections. Thank you.